Hi, my name is Sarah Featherstone, and my story is adapted from Cynthia Rylant's retelling of Hansel and Gretel by the Brothers Grimm. I chose it because I love scary stories. I hope you enjoy. Inside a stone cottage in a green forest, a young brother and sister, Hansel and Gretel, lived with their father and stepmother. Their real mother had died. The family was very poor, for the father had been ill and unable to work for their bread. Now they were down to their last loaf. The stepmother was very bitter about this. She told her husband late one night, "We cannot feed ourselves and your children at the same time. Because of them, we're starving ourselves. They need to go." The father was distressed. "They mean no harm. They are but children." But the wife did not agree. The next night, Hansel and Gretel couldn't sleep, and they overheard their stepmother plotting to be rid of them. "We'll take them deep into the forest and leave them there. They'll never find their way home. And then what is ours will be ours alone." Well, the father was very weak, and so he agreed with his selfish wife's plan. Hansel, however, had an idea. In the quiet of the night, he crept from his bed into the kitchen and carefully sliced a piece off their last loaf of bread and put it into his pocket. The next day, the father and stepmother dressed the children for a walk. As they got farther and farther away from the cottage, every now and then, Hansel would bend over, stop, as if he was looking at a leaf. What he was really doing, however, was taking the breadcrumbs from his pocket and sprinkling them along the way. When they finally reached the deep part of the forest, the children were told to sit under a tree and wait. Well, they waited all night and the next day as well. Finally, Hansel said, "It's time for us to go home." However, something terrible had happened in the night. While the children were sleeping, all of the mice in the forest had eaten every last breadcrumb that Hansel had dropped, and now the children were completely alone and lost. They began to walk, hoping to find help along the way. After some time and starving of hunger, the children came across a little white house. It was surrounded by beautiful flowers. It was so pretty, it looked good enough to eat, which was the case, actually. The children discovered that the house was made of cake and sugar and started to nibble on it immediately. Well, suddenly, the door opened and an old woman stood there wearing a smile. She welcomed the children into her house and made them a warm meal and put them to bed under a soft quilt. The children were ever so grateful. But while they slept, the old woman picked up the children and put them in cages behind her house. The old woman was actually a witch. And the witch loved to eat children, especially when they were plump and juicy. Hansel and Gretel were far too skinny for her, and she needed to fatten them up first. So the next day, she made Gretel help her with the cooking and left Hansel in his cage. Every day, she checked Hansel for his plumpness. "Stick out your finger so I can see how fat it is," the witch told Hansel. Hansel had noticed the witch's failing eyesight, so instead of putting his own finger between the bars of the cage, he stuck out a chicken bone. "Too skinny," yelled the witch, and told Gretel to make him more food. Well, this went on for many days, and for many days the witch thought that Hansel wasn't getting any plumper. Finally, she exploded with impatience. "I'll eat him anyway," she told Gretel, "and then I'll eat you too." She had Gretel start a fire on the old stone oven. But as the witch bent over to check the temperature, Gretel, strong with all of her hard work, pushed the witch into the oven and slammed the iron door shut. "We're saved!" Gretel yelled and rushed to save her brother. Then the children stuffed their pockets with bits of food and gold coins that they found in the witch's treasure chest, hoping that somehow they would find their way home. When they reached a river, miraculously, there was a big white swan that was waiting to carry them home. In their absence, their father told them, their stepmother had died by eating a poisoned mushroom. Now, only joy and forgiveness was there. And the family had enough gold coins to buy bread for the remainder of their years. The end. Thank you for listening.